Welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. The great Gina Bisconte sitting with me on the phone right now to talk some hockey. Hockey analyst from Yahoo Sports Puck Daddy. That's right, you heard right. I actually just said Sports Puck Daddy. Please welcome Greg Wyshynski. Greg, what's up?
What's going on, Artie? How are you, man?
Good. Now, I'm not a huge hockey guy. I'm going to let my buddy John take over the reins here a little bit, but I just want to, real quick, as a New York guy, before we get into the games that were played tonight and coming up, the conference finals, what do you think about the Rangers getting rid of their head coach?
Well, it seems like we got ourselves a player mutiny on our hands where they got tired of playing that style of hockey where they got to break bones and get bruises, blocking shots, and there's not a whole lot of offense happening in the playoffs. And I think there's probably also a little bit of ego involved. You know, everybody's seen those Tortorella press conferences where he kind of puts himself before the team. Not exactly the easiest guy to get along with. All these things combined, I think, force them out. When your best player, Henrik Lundqvist, the goalie, comes out and starts talking about the Rangers in the past tense, kind of the coach might be on his way out.
That's bad. That is bad. So, good point, you know.
So, Greg, where should the Rangers look for a new head coach?
Well, there's a lot of thought about them going for another veteran guy. You know, there's a guy named Alain Vigneault who just got fired in Vancouver. That seems to be the hot candidate for the job. I look less for a name than a style of coach. I mean, I think much like in baseball, Artie, where you go from the disciplinarian guy to the player's coach, you know, same thing in hockey. And I think they're going to have to go with a guy who's a bit more player-friendly, a guy who's not going to be calling out people in the media, a guy who's not going to make it all about himself. And I think that's probably the direction they'll go. And then also probably somebody who's going to be a bit more offensive-oriented. You know, this team under Tortorella in the playoffs never averaged more than 2.2 goals per game, and that's just not going to get it done. I mean, if you're going to put that all on Lundqvist to win every game 2-1 or 1-0 in the playoffs, guy's going to crack eventually, and I think it's one of the reasons why they only made the conference final once under Tortorella.
Yeah, got it. Moving on to the game tonight, Game 7 tonight. Can you explain the goal taken away from the Blackhawks at the end of regulation?
What the hell happened?
Took 3 years off Filato's life.
It's insane. Best I can figure, because they actually didn't give an explanation to Joel Quenneville, the Chicago coach. Best I can figure is they decided to give matching penalties earlier on in the play before Yarmulson, the defenseman for Chicago, scored the goal. So the play was dead. You could actually see the referee waving off the goal from center ice because he had just called a penalty on the play. It's a weird call that late in the Game 7, and obviously a weird call that far away from the play. But with Chicago eventually scoring in overtime, my faith in the hockey gods has been restored. Otherwise, it would have been the screw job of screw jobs if they had ended up losing that game.
Right. The Pittsburgh Penguins heading into this were everyone's favorite for the Stanley Cup. Based on what you've seen so far in the playoffs, any teams out there who look like they can match them, defeat them along those lines?
I think any of the other three teams in the Final Four could beat them. You know, Boston's got a chance because Boston's got the kind of defensive players that can really make life miserable for Sidney Crosby and for Evgeny Malkin. They can also counterpunch pretty well. They're a great defensive team, and that matchup's going to be really interesting, especially if they're able to get under their skin. Like, Malkin's a great player, but that guy can get pissed off real quick. And Boston's definitely got a couple of guys that can do the job with that regard. Both teams coming out of the West, I think, can give them a good series, too, especially Los Angeles, who's really kind of locked in right now. And their goalie, Jonathan Quick, to me, is the best player in the playoffs right now. You know, he's stopping every shot. They're feeding off the way he plays. And he's also kind of a prick, which is great for goaltending. I mean, Ron Hextall's in their front office, the L.A. Kings. He must be just smiling every time he sees Jonathan Quick play because he's kind of a physical guy, tries to clear out his crease, and occasionally draws a penalty by flopping around like a fish. So I think L.A. could be the team if they come out of the West that could eventually challenge the Penguins or beat the Penguins in a Cup final.
So the Hawks have no chance? Dan Filato?
They got a chance. You know, it's weird. Their offense isn't clicking all that well right now, and it's going to need to be against the Kings just because the Kings' defense is so good. But the thing the Hawks have that I like is they do have a couple of guys that are going to run the goalie. You know, this guy Andrew Shaw is going to get physical with Quick. They've got a couple of other guys that are going to get physical with Quick, and I think that's what they're going to have to do. It's going to be a really tight series. I mean, L.A. by no means can blow out teams. So it's just going to be a matter of maybe getting a bounce here or there and hoping that some of the Blackhawks' top players, Taves, Kane, Hossa, those guys come up with a play.
So much was made of no Stanley Cup winner in the last however long, hasn't gone to a best-of-7 series, to a Game 7, and actually won the next year. The Kings got that monkey off their back. Does that, I don't know, does that help them to know that they are, you know, kind of rolling along, taking the best shot everyone has? I mean, because that obviously it's the case. When you're the defending Stanley Cup champs, you're taking everyone's best shot, and the Kings just seem to take it and keep rolling.
Yeah, sure thing. And you know, last year they were kind of a juggernaut. They didn't go to a Game 7 last year. They kind of rolled through everybody. They were definitely pushed by the Sharks a bit more than they probably thought they would. The Sharks.
Exactly. How did that happen?
I don't know, man. Well, here's the thing about the Sharks, man. They've been choke artists for like the last decade, and this time they finally sacked up and played a good series. And I talked to a lot of Sharks fans on Puck Daddy, and the general consensus is, you know, it's not so much a choke, it's not so much disaster. We don't have to blow up the team. We just kind of lost. And occasionally you just kind of lose. You know, we're so conditioned to see the San Jose team be an unmitigated disaster and nobody playing with heart or guts or anything like that. They just kind of lost. And so they played a good series, pushed them to 7 games. The thing for the Kings, though, is, you know, they haven't really, I think, had to play. I mean, they played some brutal series, but they've gotten through without too many injuries. They're healthy. They're rested. I think they're going to be all right for the Chicago series, even though they got the 7-game push from the Sharks.
Got it.
Do you think, Greg, there's a better rap/hockey sports pun to use than Puck Daddy? I've been thinking about this. Maybe something like, this isn't it, but something like, you know, on the ice cube, or, you know, I mean, it just seems like you got ice there. Ice is such a big deal with rap names, and ice is hockey. Man. I mean, what do you think?
Chuck defense. I don't know.
That's not bad.
How about this? Captain Zamboni. I like that.
But Artie, you know, I know you're a big hip-hop aficionado. You, of course, know there is a long-standing legacy of hip-hop artists wearing hockey jerseys. In fact, Chris Cross, we just lost one of them, tragically.
I know.
Was one of the pioneers in wearing the hockey jersey backwards.
You're right, and a really great contradiction, because hockey not, you know, usually big in the African American community, but you're right. A lot of rappers go to the hockey jersey.
This is true, but I will say that's going to all change. There's a kid named Seth Jones. I don't know if you heard this kid.
No.
He's a
Popeye Jones' son.
Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to play in the NBA. He's now an assistant coach of the Nets. This kid, Seth Jones, is probably going to be the top pick in the NHL draft in North this year. They're holding it in Jersey. And it's going to be like a real Tiger Woods kind of thing. I mean, I think it's going to get a lot of press that this American-born kid, who's a black kid and who's the son of an NBA player, is going to be the top pick.
6'9"
I
on
think it's going to get
skates.
a lot of press.
6'9".
No, well, he's 6'4", right?
Hey, Greg, it's Gino Bisconti, first time, long time. Let's say it's Saturday. I'm hanging out, and I want to decide whether they're going to score 5.5 goals in that game in the Bruins' pens. I'm just curious. Should I think maybe they're going to score more than 5.5, or should I venture that they're going to score less than 5.5? You just curious.
Interesting point.
Well, yeah. First off, thanks for the call. I guess he'll hang up and listen.
If we're lucky, he'll hang up and listen.
Shut up.
I venture to take the under on that. I mean, I think it might be a little bit tightly played in Game 1 between those teams, but I don't know. Betting on hockey is
it's fantastic. That's right.
Betting on hockey.
What else are you going to do in June?
Well, listen, Greg, we got to go real quick. Give me your prediction. 2 teams in the finals, and who wins?
I'll take the Penguins and the Blackhawks, and I'll take the Blackhawks to win the Cup.
No!
Kiss ass.
I don't like looking like a moron. I like sticking with my team. My team's still alive. I'll take the Blackhawks to win the Cup.
Well, I'll tell you what. I like that. I like Chicago-Pittsburgh final. That'd be nice. And Blackhawks. And how many? You said 6?
Yeah, let's go 6 games.
6 games.
They'll win it in Pittsburgh. Make the Pittsburgh people miserable.
All right, listen, Greg Wyshynski, from a hockey analyst from Yahoo Sports, Puck Daddy, and let me just say, pimps to my hooligans in Brooklyn. All right, Greg. Thanks, buddy. Join us again.
Thank you, Artie.
All right, buddy.